Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this interactive Techies in Residence event today, hosted by the Community Foundation for Northern Ireland. I am Maeve Monaghan. I am the chair of the Community Foundation, and I have a particular passion for digital innovation, so I'm very excited to be here today and hear from all of the projects and find out great information that I can take back to my own organisation. And I suppose we have a fantastic lineup for you today. We're going to showcase the great work that's been done as part of this year's Techies in Residence. My particularly favourite part, we're going to hear from the project pitches for a Seed Fund Award, and you, the audience, will decide who the winner is. And we have a discussion about the role of digital innovation in the third sector, where we'll hear from our expert panel. It gives me great pleasure, and I suppose we wanted to recognise and thank the funders, Comic Relief, and our partners, Innovate NI, and CAST. And just when I have you all here and I have the opportunity, I wanted to mention a little bit more about Philanthropy Fortnight. As one of the most charitable and generous regions in the UK, Northern Ireland is celebrating the positive impact of philanthropic giving in our community. This week and next, we celebrate Philanthropy Fortnight, telling the amazing stories behind philanthropy in Northern Ireland. Amazing things are being achieved today through philanthropy, things which simply wouldn't happen without the generosity and involvement of people, businesses, and foundations. Today, we'll hear from 7 organisations and their tech partners who are transforming their services to become more accessible and support those marginalised from society. The role of philanthropy in enabling these organisations to transform cannot be underestimated. With the funding for the programme delivery and the seed fund being provided by the Community Foundation and Comic Relief, Techies in Residence is a wonderful example of philanthropy by foundations in action. I would encourage you all to learn more about the different types of philanthropy and follow the social media accounts of the Community Foundation and our Philanthropy Fortnight partners, Fermanagh Trust and Belfast Charitable Society. You can, of course, join the conversation by including the hashtag PhilanthropyFortnight21. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the person who has brought this event together today. I want to hand over to Paul Braithwaite from the Community Foundation. Paul, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Maeve, and hi, everybody. As Maeve says, I'm Paul. I'm the Head of Innovation and Voice at the Community Foundation. Maeve's just been talking about philanthropy, and our strapline, as you know, is connecting people who care with causes that matter. And I really think Techies in Residence is a fantastic example of that. You know, it's all about connecting the tech sector with the voluntary and community sector. 2 very different sectors, 2 very different skill sets, but with a real shared passion for problem solving. And I've had the pleasure of being involved in Techies in Residence from the very start, from 2015, when Building Change Trust first designed and commissioned the programme. And I must say, it's been a real pleasure to see the kind of innovation potential that happens when you bring together the technology world with the voluntary and community sector. And including the projects this year, that's now 32 projects we've supported all together. So that's 32 digital products that are out there making a difference to people and having a social impact. So we've got a busy agenda this morning, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. So we're here to hear about the 7 projects that we've been supporting this year. And we've got 2 sets of videos from each of these projects. And shortly, in a few moments, we're going to hear the first set of videos, which will be telling us about the work that the projects have been doing up until now. And later on, we hear again from them, and they'll be pitching to you, the audience, about what they would use a Seed Fund Award for if they were lucky enough to receive one today. And as you know, you, the audience, will today be making the decisions about who gets that Seed Fund Award. You will also have a chance to ask questions to the project, so you can be thinking of those as we go through the event. And the other thing that we're doing is we have a really exciting panel discussion on the wider issues of digital innovation. And of course, COVID over the past year has really brought digital innovation, both the need for it and the potential of it, really into the spotlight. So we really think Techies in Residence is kind of very well placed as still the only Tech for Good programme in Northern Ireland to help the sector to grapple with the changes that are ahead and also to make sure that digital technology is used for the good of our communities and that no one gets left behind. So before we go into this, the first set of videos, I just want to give you a quick intro to how we'll be making the decisions later, because there are some criteria that we would like you to keep in mind as you're listening to the videos and to help you decide which projects to give your vote to. So as you'll see on the slide there are 4 things we'd like you to think of. We'd like you to think about which projects have the most potential to benefit individuals and communities. We'd like you to think about which projects have demonstrated the most creativity and innovation in developing their prototype, which projects have the clearest idea for what they would use the seed fund grant for, and which projects seem most likely to be sustainable. So please do bear those in mind. And in the vote later on, everyone is going to have to pick the 5 projects they think best meet these. That's right, 5 projects. So we've deliberately given everybody multiple votes. And the reason that we're doing that is because we know that many of you are here today rooting for a particular project you might have been directly involved, and that is absolutely fine. So you already know one of the projects you're going to vote for probably. But we do want you to think about all the other projects and bear those criteria in mind and carefully consider which ones best merit your vote. And as you know from the brochure, we've got 5 grants of £12,000 to give out today. But the really good news is that nobody will go away empty-handed, and all of these projects are worthy of support. So the other 2 projects who don't receive the £12,000 awards will receive a smaller grant of £3,500. So we're going to have our first set of videos now from this year's 7 Techies in Residence projects. I've had a sneak preview, and I have to say I'm absolutely delighted with them, and I think all of the projects have worked really hard and gone above and beyond. So they're 2 minutes each, and because there's 7 projects, that's about 14 minutes in total. And just to explain that each of the projects is a pairing of a charity or social enterprise with a tech company, and they've been working really intensively since January together, building a prototype digital product that can address a specific social or community challenge. So in these videos, they'll be telling us about what they've done so far, and then later on we'll come back to hear again what they would do in future if they got a seed fund award. So do be thinking of what questions you might want to ask to the projects while you're listening, and you might want to note those down on a piece of paper. As I say, later on you'll have a chance to ask those questions directly to them. So without further ado, here's our first set of videos.
Aurora Counselling and Kippy CIC.
Hello, I'm Francesca, Manager of Aurora Counselling in Derry. Over the past few years, we have identified growing demand for child counselling services against a background of ever-increasing waiting lists in both the statutory and voluntary sector. This often means that a child will be on a list for anything from 6 weeks to 9 months. We also recognise that during this time, families receive little, if any, communication or support from the agency they have contacted. This has meant that parents are often sitting at home feeling frustrated, overwhelmed and isolated, wondering whether their child will ever access the help they need. We therefore sought to create a digital product that could be utilised by the caregiver during this waiting list time, so they are better equipped to support their child at home.
Hi, my name is Catherine. I'm from Kippy, and along with Caroline and Justine, we have created the Kids Express app. The first stop on our whistle-stop tour through the app is to Parentland. Here, the guardian or caregiver can have a look at some of the information that's been provided on this app. They are guided through this information from first concerns to self-care to in-depth help with problem areas. As you can see, all the information has been broken down into these nice little bite-sized chunks that are easy to digest. Next up on our journey is to the interactive element, the Kids Express game. And the aim of this game is to keep the train in the center of the screen. You do this by tapping in a steady manner. If the train goes too fast or too slowly, it shoots off either side of the screen. And when that happens, we can see a little representation of anger getting closer and closer to the driver. Each time that happens as well, we are given a little example of the type of thing that might make us angry. And the idea is to show the build-up of anger and how it's very rarely just one thing that sets us off.
Thank you. Bernardo's An Invisible Building.
Here at Bernardo's, our refugee support service helps Syrian families resettle to a new life here in Northern Ireland. Most families are placed in temporary accommodation, but they can often stay there for a number of years due to the the housing lists and the waiting lists that are out there. Like any house, things can go wrong. Heating can pack in, there can be problems with electric, or your oven might break down. But imagine for a moment how difficult it would be for you to report those issues if you didn't speak the language. Over the past number of months, Bernardo's have been working very hard with refugee families, with Home Care NI, with the Housing Executive, with Extern, and with our techie David, to try and create a dignified solution to this problem that enables families to report housing issues independently and promptly. I'm immensely proud of what we've achieved together so far. Here's our techie David to tell you a bit more.
Fixit is a digital platform that was designed with visual communication at the core of its product. We have designed Fixit to allow users to self-identify and report issues in their homes. Our product allows families to log issues direct with their landlords. It also provides them an option to upload photographic evidence of any issues in their homes in order to support their claim. It logs the report direct with the landlord, and it tells the landlord whereabouts in the house the issue is. It tells them what exactly the issue is and displays that evidence on file. Fixit then notifies the user of an estimated response time, and it does this all with automation tools without having to rely on any third-party involvement. We've already been out testing the MVP with local families on the Bernardo's Fixit pilot programme, and it's been reported back as being easy to use and very intuitive. We're also really delighted that Home Care has agreed to pilot stage 2 of the Bernardo's Fixit programme, and we've already been able to merge it with their internal systems. And I genuinely really look forward to continuously enhance this product.
NI, Chest, Heart and Stroke, and Johan Gantz.
We are Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke, a well-established charity whose aim is to reduce chest, heart and stroke illnesses throughout Northern Ireland. Our problem in the Work Well Live Well team in the Prevention Department was to disseminate health and wellbeing information that was factual, evidence-based, peer-reviewed and as up-to-date and local as possible with health champions who are on our programme. We also wanted to create a safe space where health champions could collaborate and contact each other about their health and wellbeing action plans. Working with our techie, JNCA Consulting, to solve this problem, and in the spirit of the voluntary sector principles, we used creativity to adapt an existing innovative platform called Zulip that meant we could begin trials right away. Zulip is a targeted Google search type web and mobile phone app-based platform that we have harnessed for workplaces, meaning we can share local evidence-based health information and our clients are able to collaborate and connect easily. Our techie has been most creative in developing a chatbot that can be used within Zulip but can also be applied across other websites.
We can have a basic conversation with the chatbot within Zulip through the private messages. And because Dialogflow is not tied to Zulip itself, it could also be used through other websites or applications for chest, heart and stroke.
At present, we have 52 health champions regularly using Zulip to search for health and wellbeing information and share with each other. We hope to broaden this to 300 as part of the Seed Fund project. Let's close with health champion Sinead telling us her experiences of using Zulip.
Every month I had issues and I spent endless hours Googling for information that was relevant, and now with the introduction of Zulip, this has made my job a bit easier. The information that is available through Zulip is relevant, it's up to date and it's easily accessible.
Linking Generations and MediaDeck.
Hi, I'm Vicky from Linking Generations Northern Ireland, and we work to inspire, promote and develop intergenerational activity, but COVID has stolen our spark. This is our project team, Jerry, Sarah and myself, and our challenge is that generations have been forced to stay apart, losing the opportunity to build vital intergenerational relationships. We wanted a digital way to deliver the intergenerational sessions that we usually do in a face-to-face environment.
I'm Jerry and I work at tech company MediaDeck. With Lincoln Generation's passion and our technical skill, we've developed a bespoke digital platform that can be used to deliver intergenerational activities online. Lincoln Generations now have their own platform with the ability to create online virtual rooms and add in their own bespoke activities, as you can see on screen.
Users log into the system through a unique URL, ensuring their safety at all times. From here, they join a lobby waiting area with all other members of the group. LGNI then match up participants from different age settings, creating individual breakout rooms. These act as virtual tables where they can work together to complete the assigned activities. All participants see the same set of instructions, taking them through what they're going to do during their session. They can then work through these together and interact along the way. The activities act as a focus and help everyone feel at ease, but the real joy is in the conversations that are sparked between the generations as they start to get to know each other. Throughout the activity, question prompts appear on the screen to initiate conversation, starting to build the relationships between those involved. This replicates the role that LGNI staff would play in a face-to-face setting. Our new Generations Connected platform is just the start of LGNI's very exciting and inspiring digital journey. It offers an opportunity to connect and engage generations together digitally and safely.
Mid and East Antrim Age Well Partnership and Damgeo.
Are you a community group struggling to engage digitally with older people? Have you dropped off a tablet for only this to happen?
John, did you get a chance to use the tablet I dropped off for you?
Tablet? Goodness sake, how are you supposed to swallow that?
Do you know how to log on to the Wi-Fi?
The Wi-Fi? Sure, the Wi-Fi doesn't know how to use it either.
So would you like to join your club online through Zoom?
Zumba? I don't do that dancing lark.
Okay, so the Zoom link will be in your mailbox.
The mailbox? Andrea, postman hasn't been yet.
St Colum's Park House and Access Heritage.
Hello, my name is Grania and our pitch is from St Colum's Park House. The challenge we wanted to address was that of separation from the rest of the natural world and the impact of this on our individual and collective health and well-being. We sought a digital solution that would enable connection and reconnection with nature and within ourselves.
Hello, Cormac from Access Heritage. I was the techie with St Colum's Park House in the project. The challenge was to reconnect people with the environment, help them understand local nature, folklore and foraging possibilities, as well as developing points of reflection within different points in the landscape. We designed a seasonal virtual tour in the grounds of St Colum's Park House. We continuously tested the tour with different groups throughout the prototype development, including groups interested in nature and heritage, park users, those who have been shielded during the pandemic, and people with additional needs such as dementia.
The benefits from the virtual tour included more than what we had anticipated. We have started noticing the changing of seasons and how this plays out in the landscape. We have engaged park users who otherwise might not pay much attention to the details of the space to stop and linger a while. We have uncovered nature, history and heritage, which we've been able to translate into physical moments in the garden. We have also found the tool surprisingly effective when remotely planning the design of the space with volunteers who had been unable to meet in person during the pandemic. What we learned from the process, as well as testing the prototype, was that the information we were generating was limited. And it would take on a completely new dimension if we were to extend this creation of the narrative to groups who use the space. We are curious about how this prototype could be replicated in other spaces and what new language, heritage, or stories could deepen a feeling of connection and subsequent healing within self, with others, and with nature, which is why we are seeking the seed funding to continue this journey.
Young Enterprise NI and Zoo Creative.
Hello, my name is Barbara and I'm from Young Enterprise Northern Ireland. Welcome to Breakout, which is a fun and interactive VR activity for post-primary students.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm a training officer with Young Enterprise. And with this prototype, we wanted to create an engaging virtual reality experience for the young people that we work with. It had to be something that was fun, yet challenging. Something which gave a sense of achievement without pushing young people into providing right or wrong answers. This experience would become part of our digital masterclass programme, delivered in schools right across Northern Ireland. And yet we wanted something flexible that could be adapted and added to be used with other programmes that we deliver and with other age groups that we work with. And so our first Young Enterprise virtual reality experience, Breakout, was born.
Hi, I'm Richard Walsh from Zoo Creative. Working with Young Enterprise Northern Ireland, we immediately saw the potential of VR to teach students skills for their future. We chose A-Frame as the main technology to develop the module and opted for Google Cardboard as the main VR platform, as it is a cheap and easily accessible device for use in the classroom. We then developed the escape room scenario inspired by the classic 80s TV show, The A-Team, the goal being to build a vehicle from scrap found in the garage. Working alongside their crew, the VR user must communicate, collaborate, and create a vehicle to break out.
Wow, weren't they just amazing? I can't say how excited I am for all of your projects. As somebody who's been in receipt of Techies in Residence in the past with Now Group's Jam Card initiative, you're at the start of an amazing journey. And I just have to say, there's no turning back. And I loved hearing about from the A-Team. I think it brings back great memories of being in my mum and dad's living room after a bath on a Saturday evening watching the A-Team. And it probably gives us a great segue into the next session, because I want to introduce you to our A-Team, the panel of experts in digital innovation. So I wanted to introduce to the panel Adrian. Adrian is the Director of Digital Catapult Northern Ireland, which aims to accelerate digital innovation in the UK. He is also, and I'm very glad to say this, a trustee with the Community Foundation for Northern Ireland. And Ellie is Capacity and Communities Lead at CAST, the Centre for Acceleration of Social Technology. And she also coordinates a UK-wide Catalyst programme, a network which helps UK charities grow in digital skills and confidence. And finally, Dahlia, who manages Comic Relief's social tech portfolio, providing funding and support to organisations looking to take a user-centred approach to designing and developing a digital product. Wow, guys, what a team of expert panels. You certainly are our A-Team, and you are very, very welcome today today's session. And I wanted really to start, first of all, and ask the panel to give us a few minutes to share their thoughts about the role of digital innovation in the third sector and the current state of play. So Adrian, could I hand over to you, please?
Thanks, Maeve, and thanks for inviting me to be part of the panel today. I mean, how good were those videos? How good were those projects? And it really cemented in my head the things that I was just about to say. You know, I think the first thing is, what we've seen over the last year and over the last year and a half with COVID is that every sector, whether it be the third sector, whether it be any other sector, or public sector or industry, they all face the same challenges. They're all going through the same adoption challenges that they're going to have. The third sector shouldn't be risk averse to taking on digital innovation. You know, the intensity of adoption that we've seen in areas like agriculture and construction are extremely low, but they know that they have to adopt technology which is going to help them reduce costs or be more efficient in the processes. But more importantly, and what we saw in the videos just now, how do we communicate? How do we connect with the people that we work with? How do we deliver services in a world where everybody's expectations are now changed? I mean, we're sitting now this morning on a hybrid event, connecting with people right across the UK on the Techies in Residence program, which we wouldn't have done 2 years ago. So things are changing drastically, and this has changed in a way that we haven't even noticed it change. Many of the people on the call won't have noticed that it's changed, but they would have been in fear of digital adoption and innovation. But none of us ever use paper now for doing payroll. None of us ever do. You know, we connect with people on social media, and we've gone through digital transformation already. So it's a really interesting time. And we shouldn't be afraid of the digital adoption piece that we're currently working through, but there are opportunities that are coming down the line. I hope we get a chance to talk about the opportunities that will come down the line this morning. You know, the third sector, what we have is a connected audience. We have a captivated audience. We have a sector which knows the solutions and problems that exist within the sector themselves. What we need is the same challenge that every other sector is having. We don't adopt because we have a lack of skills or because of the cost associated with that. I'm pleased to say, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about this morning, there are opportunities in Northern Ireland in the next 3 years with city deals and with other investments from the Department of the Economy, which will enable organisations to get engaged with that. And the opportunities are really there for projects like we've just seen to really take them on as entrepreneurial opportunities, to really have tech for good embedded into societal impact and economic impact in the future. So it's a very, very exciting time.
Yeah, it certainly is. Certainly is, Adrian. Thank you very much for that. And Ellie, I'll just check to make sure you're not muted, and I'll hand over to you then.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, what a great array of brilliant projects we just saw there. And it really sort of a testament to the creativity of so many organizations. And especially that's something that we've seen over the last year where the pandemic has, as Adrian said, really forced so many of us to respond in really new, different ways to the challenges of delivering services remotely, to the challenges of working remotely as a team and ensuring that we continue to deliver the same consistency of support to the most vulnerable through these times. So I think one thing I would say is there's just been such a fabulous response, and it has really brought the digital maturity of the sector on leaps and bounds. Something that we used to talk about a lot at CAST was a sort of a innovation diffusion curve where they'd have sort of innovators at the very front end driving new practice, forging new ways of doing things, and then you'd have sort of the laggards right at the end, and then a big bulge of people in the middle that were sort of early adopters through to kind of the early majority. And I'd say where the sector is now is everyone's been pushed through that curve, and there's this huge number of people who are now more confident, more capable, really exploring some of the more detailed, gnarly challenges around this stuff. So not just what is tech, how can I use it, but how can I use things safely? How can I ensure that safeguarding, security, privacy, agency is embedded in the digital that I'm using? How can I ensure that the voice of the community I'm supporting is completely central to the development of everything that we do, and really kind of creative ways to actually facilitate that as well, which as Adrian spoke to as well, our sector is so well placed to be championing all of these values, which are so important. Other stuff as well around how do we make best use of existing tools and tech so that we can reduce the cost and reduce duplication, needless duplication across the sector as well. And how do we measure impact? I think those are some of the big questions going through everybody's mind now that we've done a lot of this digital shift, and now we're on to the tricky stuff. It's the challenging bits, but it's also the really rewarding and interesting things that no other sector has completely worked out, because that's not the priority of other sectors. So I think we've got a really exciting opportunity here and over the next few years as this space to sort of collectively work out what this looks like and share and learn openly with each other. So really excited to see these examples today and where they might go.
Brilliant, Ellie, and thank you very much. And I think you're right. If there ever was a sector that was ready and able to take on a challenge, it is the third sector. And I think, as I said earlier, there probably is no going back. Dalia, over to you.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to echo, it was so brilliant to watch all the videos this morning. It's so clear that so much thoughtfulness and kind of quality and time went into the development of them. And I think a lot of what we saw connects to our own experiences of the past year around kind of keeping in touch with both our loved ones and with nature, getting to know the spaces around us. So thank you to everybody who was involved in the development of those. And in terms of thinking about the past year, I just really wanted to connect to what Ellie said as well about that curve and how, digital was so crucial to kind of ensuring basic service continuity for many organizations. And certainly at Comic Relief, we gave out recovery funding at the beginning of the pandemic, and digital featured obviously as a massive, massive element in that. And I guess in terms of what comes next, and looking at these videos this morning, we're really thinking about how to help and support organizations along that journey of how they can make use of digital design and data in a more intentional way to solve these common challenges and common problems. So kind of thinking beyond just using digital to deliver a service, that kind of more long-term and embedded piece. So something that we've learned as a funder is just how important it is to acknowledge that kind of time and energy it takes that goes to the really early stages of a project. You have to kind of resource staff time properly to make sure that you do your scoping and get to that research proposal solution and kind of understand the problem that you're solving. And as Ellie mentioned, kind of bring in users in creative ways. And we've seen lots of incredible examples of kind of co-design over the past year as well. And I wanted to share some reflections as well from our Build Fund, which we just closed, and funding, which is kicking off in June, so in a couple of weeks. We received 361 applications to that call, which far surpassed kind of previous numbers. And I think we've yet to do a kind of more in-depth analysis, but some reflections that have surfaced kind of for me and other colleagues throughout looking at the applications that we received, just the kind of shared challenges that we have across the sector. So things like, there's such a desire to develop tech around peer-to-peer support, around digital directories and information. I think the application pool taught us a lot about where the place-based gaps are as well. So I think, from that and kind of looking to the future, I wanted to echo what Ellie said around kind of how we think about emerging themes like reusing existing tech to solve common challenges, like addressing sector-wide issues and incentivizing collaboration, coordination. And going forward, it will be great to raise awareness of kind of tech amongst older trustees as well. And I think we're just thinking about how, as a funder of social tech, we can really maximize our impact by supporting projects like Techies in Residence Northern Ireland, but then also kind of connecting those out to broader ecosystems.
Brilliant, Dali. Thank you very much. And I think, Adrian, I just wanted to go back to something you said about confidence of the sector. And, I hear a lot of conversations in the sector about, well, we're not a tech business. And I think we need to maybe get over that lack of confidence from the sector. But can you give us some examples of how you think the third sector can better connect with the wider digital economy?
Yeah, absolutely, Maeve, and you're right. You will hear people saying, and again, you'll hear it across other sectors, we're not tech experts, but we're experts in our field. Yeah. And that's the most important bit. The most important bit is identifying the problems. And we've seen that in all of the videos that we saw this morning from the projects. I think that for me, you link it back, if you look at UK government strategy and you look at what's called the Industrial Strategy Challenge, it actually looks at areas which affect social impact. So it's healthy aging, it's assisted living, it's healthy neighborhoods, it's looking for technology solutions to those types of challenges. So there is a natural connectivity between the third sector and the societal impact. And the biggest issue that COVID has driven entirely because of that is that technology solutions and government can't progress with technology solutions or adoption of digital technology to solve some of these social issues if they don't have engagement from the public and from society. So the third sector play a huge role in a number of ways. One, they know the challenge space that we've seen already this morning, but also we can engage with the talent pipeline, which is untapped here in Northern Ireland. One of the challenges that we have with digital adoption is the fact that we're afraid of adopting technologies, making efficiencies, and then we have staff members who have to be made redundant. No, we have to think completely differently. That what we do is actually we upskill them, either to be entrepreneurs and take some of these products forward as businesses, new products and businesses to solve those industrial challenges like healthy aging, etc., assisted living and educational outcomes. Or we also help them to upskill. We transfer the knowledge that we're seeing in Techies in Residence, which is a fantastic project, but taking those skills and actually absorbing those skills back into the organizations themselves that they can continue to develop solutions, for their audiences and for the people they work with. I mean, two examples that flagged to me straight away, Maeve, is Elemental, which is a project in the Ormeau Baths in Belfast. Elemental, they're actually out of Derry. They're out of Derry now, but social prescribing, so individuals and families and carers, similar to what we've seen this morning, can connect to some community-based programs and services. That business is thriving. It's huge, and it's just expanding because of the need for those types of solutions. We look at Esther. We talk about fundraising has changed because of COVID-19. Esther is another project where they look at pocket-to-pocket giving, so from a donor direct to a recipient using digital technologies. Now, that's an application that needed a solution to it. So, I mean, some of the examples that come out of that is recipients are able to go and see family at Christmas because they now have the bus fare to do so. I mean, that's a huge impact, but that's coming from people that know the space and then developing the solutions around that. The key thing for me is that because of the government looking at now what they're calling inclusive innovation and engaging with the third sector and engaging with community, there's a 10x economy vision which has been released by the Department for the Economy over the last 2 weeks, and that talks about inclusive innovation. There's the Belfast Region City deals in the northwest, the Derry City and Strabane city deals. That both of those programs, £500 million, are about inclusive innovation. They're looking at healthy neighbourhoods. They're looking at all the challenges we talked about, assisted living and ageing and educational outcomes. There's challenge funds, which will enable the third sector to engage in developing those solutions and developing those skills pipelines. So there's a lot of opportunity, huge amount of opportunity. But what we need to do is the third sector think more strategically. How do we transform in terms of digital adoption? Not just about the technology and how we make ourselves more efficient, but the role that we'll play in developing new solutions and problems to those social issues that we've just talked about, and develop them as economic benefit to those organizations as well. We just need to change strategically how we think about that.
Well, I think I couldn't agree more. I think in some of the things you're discussing are certainly parts of a conversation we'll be having within the Community Foundation and even within my own organisation. I suppose I wanted to thank you particularly for those two examples because they're really good examples of regional projects, and I love the fact you got the Derry bit in, Adrian. I knew you would, and the Northwest piece. But that idea, that the geographical spread can happen through digital innovation. It doesn't all have to be in one area. But also, I think there's a really important point because I think, if I'm correct, those two examples have women tech founders. And that idea of diversity and inclusion within this sector as well, and all the other groups of people that we as a sector support, the potential for development there is fantastic. So thank you, Adrian, and we'll maybe join you into the conversation in a moment. But over to you, Ellie, because I genuinely believe that people can't be it if they can't see it. So Adrian has given some local examples to help us with that today, but what do you think the success factors for third sector organisations who embrace tech for good are, and maybe give us a couple of examples that you know of and what support is out there?
Yeah, great question. I think this is actually changing a little bit and has changed a little bit over the last year. And in my role at CAST, working with the Catalyst Network, we've been supporting a huge number of different organizations to get to grips with solving specific challenges and address urgent needs in collaboration with digital partners over the last year. So very similar to Techies in Residence, actually, but slightly more compressed timescales. And some of the things that we've seen emerging from that have actually been most powerful are things around being really open and open working and enabling others to understand what you're working on and see how they can contribute and collaborate. Because I think something that came out of this pandemic period is a huge increase in desire for mutuality, for working together, for partnership, and an understanding of how beneficial that could be and where it is beneficial and useful. And the first step of that, often we've found over the last year, is being open. So sharing kind of week notes about what your project is working on, what you've learned from your user research, what you've learned from testing out in the wild, your prototype, and how that can then be really helpful and beneficial to others doing similar things. Because I think, to Adrian's point about sort of the role of organizations as well, I think we've got a better sense now in this last year of just how interconnected we are as an ecosystem, as a sector, and helping anything that can help organizations figure that out, like their best role that they can play in that ecosystem, I think is really important, and perhaps a lot more important than maybe felt like it was a couple of years ago. And in terms of examples, I can share a link to a whole host of amazing examples in a site that we've compiled called Service Recipes, which is where organizations are sharing very practical step-by-step accounts of how they've solved specific problems and what tech they've used to do so, and some of the challenges around that, some of the conversations they've had to have internally, the difficult trade-offs sometimes, and why they've made certain decisions. And we found that this has been really helpful and very kind of just practically useful for an organization to search through and see, oh, I wonder if anyone's trying to do something similar to me. Yes, they are. What did they do? Why did they make those decisions? So that's one way that I think, one success factor. Another, I'd say, really critically is that being so engaged with the communities that you're actually trying to support and ensuring that along every step of the way, their voice is leading the whole process. I think there's more and more brilliant examples of this sort of user-led design and actually being really driven by that much more participatory mindset that is maybe a lot more common in the non-digital space, but is so critical for digital development that actually serves the real needs and the real behaviors of the people that it's supporting. So I think there's many examples I could point to there. And I think one small example I might give as to how to get that sort of input on a regular basis is maybe that it doesn't have to be a big insight gathering project or program. It's a part of sort of everyday culture. So there's a great small charity in the UK called Reach Volunteering, which run a platform to help connect skills-based volunteers with organizations. And one of the things we heard a couple of years ago from them that they did was just every time somebody calls into the main line of the organization, their receptionist asks a couple of questions that the organization's considering and pondering at that time, and the receptionist gathers the answers of whoever has actually called in, and every so often they'll review and then set different questions. And that is not that person's role explicitly, but it can absolutely be a part of their role because they're really well placed to gather that external input and information. So it's thinking of small ways that everybody in the team can be going through this process of continually seeking input and being responsive to the needs as they change around you.
Wow, thank you, Ellie, and thanks. I think you've shared the link in the comments as well. I think that was, did I see you come? Thank you very much for that, so that everybody at the event today can see that there. I think it's really, really valuable, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. In most organizations, the power is with the administrator or the person on the front desk, and that's really good to see. I suppose that key element that digital isn't one person's job. The change in innovation comes for us all. So thank you, Ellie. And Dalia, probably the same question in many ways, but can you also tell us about some of your favorite examples of projects Comic Relief has supported?
Yeah, absolutely. And Ellie, I loved your example about the receptionist. I think, it's it's so important to kind of take that like learning-led approach throughout the way your organization works as a whole. I think that links to a lot of what I'm about to say in terms of a few examples that we funded in the past about. And I think the key thing I want to kind of draw out here is that, there's no one definition of what digital should be used for or could be or is for, really. So I think, we, our past projects have funded organizations and where the tool is kind of in the hands of, yes, sometimes it is the users and the people that they work with and serve on a day-to-day basis, but other times the tool is actually in the hands of the practitioners or the people on the back end delivering the project as well. So I think it's about trying to be creative about who it's for and where it's placed. And I think so a really good example of that back-end solution in particular is in 2018, we funded the Samaritans to develop a surge notification system, which used kind of historical and real-time data to predict demand for their service and accurately identify how many volunteers are needed and when, which I think in the long term went on to actually reduce waiting times and drove a more efficient allocation of resources internally. And I also wanted to kind of share a different example, and I'm sharing this one because I think it's a really nice recent example of cross-sector collaboration. So NPC, New Philanthropy Capital, is collaborating with a number of partners on a project called My Best Life, which is about, which is co-designed with young people, and they're basically collaborating with local authorities and the key players in the youth sector. So they're working with lots of key charities that each bring a kind of separate slice of the expertise to the table. So for example, they're working with UK Youth to bring in kind of their connections to young people and their developed ways that they've got already of like participatory design. They're working with a couple of other charities who are each bringing a slightly different kind of angle or approach to the problem. And so they're kind of still developing their final product, but it's essentially a kind of super localized directory of services that young people can access that try to kind of reduce the barriers that young people have when accessing these types of services traditionally. And I think what that really, the kind of message for me is just around trying to get value from every piece of the work out there and every piece of the ecosystem. And I guess I kind of wanted to share one more, maybe more traditional example of sort of user-facing tech. It's quite simple, but actually has had, you know, amazing kind of time and admin saving benefits for the organization. So it's Bipolar UK, and they developed a tool, it's a chatbot, which kind of takes basic questions that users have and immediately signposts them to information on their directory, and also integrates with their services. So I think I just want to share three quite different examples of different ways that you can deploy tech and digital kind of both internally, externally with your users, and also ways in which you can work in collaboration with different partners in the sector. And it is really hard to do sometimes, but it's definitely possible. And yeah, just to kind of reiterate your points about taking small steps and learning as you go. You know, at Comic, we know that inherently not all of the projects that we fund will get to the solution that they applied with, and that's completely okay. The important bit is the learning element and approach. So yeah, I think that's those are the examples I was going to share.
Great. I think they're wonderful examples, and I suppose what we're hoping today that we, you know, that everybody that's tuning in gets excited about this, but understands that they can do it too, and that it's not just, you know, digital businesses succeeding and other, that we can move the sector along as we go. And I suppose we have about 5 minutes left, so I probably have a question just for the panel overall, so you can come in if you think you can input into this. But I suppose that when Adrian had mentioned about the city deal and, you know, the Department for Economy strategy, it all sounds very grand. It sounds very government. I think when you're sitting in a sector, you can find it quite difficult to think where you fit into that. So, you know, as a panel, what do you think that funders and support and government can do to support digital innovation in the third sector and tech for good more broadly? How do we move this forward, and how does the sector feel part of the solution? Does anybody want to take a question first? Adrian, maybe you first from a local.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that immediately jumps to my mind is, you know, we talk about inclusive innovation, but you know, we're developing programs outside of engaging the third sector at this moment in time. I think the first thing jumps out to me is a citizens' assembly around digital adoption, because it's broad, it's very, very broad. I mean, you look at the Belfast Region City Deal, there's a part of that project is around a citizen-centric data analytics platform. So again, that's fantastic. It's about, it's about gathering people's data around health data, for example, but having an impact on the health outcomes of individuals. That means absolutely nothing to the person on the street because they don't understand that connectivity between the Apple Watch that they have, the data that's being generated, and how that might help them identify healthcare issues quicker. There needs to be, there needs to be a forum established which really identifies and engages with the third sector and with those people that get serviced by the third sector to identify what the barriers to that adoption is going to be. Because without that, none of the rest is going to work. There will be an ethical issue, there will be a moral issue around the adoption of technologies for some of the things we're looking to try and address without that public sector engagement piece. So, I think that's probably one of the first things that I would look at is, how can we set something up around potentially a youth assembly. The reality is in Northern Ireland, we have a huge amount of digital poverty as well. So how do we address those challenges before we even start talking about the digital adoption into those communities?
Great, Adrian, thank you. And we've 3 or 4 minutes left. So Ellie and Dalia, do either of you have a point on that? Yes, go ahead, Dalia.
Yeah, just when it comes to that broader piece about funders, I think something that we've been talking about and that we've seen other funders kind of adopt is kind of how to weave digital into more traditional funding applications and making it a kind of core part of an offering as opposed to an add-on. And I think funders have a really important role in that in terms of providing the opportunity and incentivizing people at application, across the board. It doesn't have to be a tech-specific funding call to create space for that thinking and that kind of work and encourage that.
Would you suggest that organisations here have a conversation with funders around digital and how they can support that? Is that a good next step for people in the audience when they're starting to think about taking this forward? Dalia, maybe you first and then on to Ellie.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly hope so. And I think we've already seen a little bit of that within the COVID emergency response funding that was really flexible and it was really open. So I think as funders, there are some characteristics that we've displayed over the past year that we can hopefully kind of sustain the momentum on.
Brilliant, thank you. And Ellie, I'll probably just end with you.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think that kind of creating space for that dialogue is really crucial. Because we're all figuring this out together, right? Like there's not that many really clear known elements. We're building practice collaboratively as a sector. So the more time and space and attention we can put to setting aside time to speak to each other as peers, work out what each other are doing, what we're learning from it, and have that dialogue between funders and grantees as well. I think spaces for that cross-sector learning is just so valuable and so beneficial. We've really seen that across all of our work as well. So yeah, making sure that we dedicate time to that, because it does take time, it does take resource, and there might be a role for funders as well in helping create that time by building that as well into the way that grants are designed and the way that funding is delivered. So yeah, making sure that it's not at the bottom of it doesn't fall to the bottom of the priority list always, because it's so crucial as we're going forwards.
Great. Well, look, thank you, Ellie, and thank you to all our panel. I do think you were our A team, and I suppose that idea of diverse brains and diverse experiences help us all at the event today think this through and plan our next steps. So thank you very much for your time and your expertise today. We really, really appreciate it. And it just leaves me now that we end that panel to tell you that we're going to have a short break. It's now absolutely spot on time, and I do like to be on time. So we have 5 minutes, and I have been told that it takes 3 minutes to make a cup of tea. So I would encourage you all, go get your cup of tea or your coffee, and as it's 5 to 12 now, I'd like you all back here at 12 o'clock so that we can do the most exciting part of the session today. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you did manage to use those 5 minutes to get a cup of tea and then a bonus 2 minutes to do whatever else you wanted to do. We're coming on to the exciting part now where we're going to hear the second set of videos where all of our projects are pitching for a £12,000 seed fund award. One small thing I want to draw your attention to, and which some people have pointed out to us, is that unfortunately in the first set of videos, the voiceover or part of the voiceover was missing from the Me app video, so apologies for that. We're not sure what happened there, but this is our first ever hybrid event, so there's bound to be some small glitches. So what we're going to do is we've managed to dig out that 2-minute video with the voiceover on it. We're going to play that again, and then we're going to play the full set of the second set of videos. So you'll see that 2-minute Me app video, and then you'll see the second set of 7 videos, which are the organizations pitching. So just before we go into that again, though, because these videos are particularly what you're thinking of when you make your decisions later, we just want to remind you of those criteria. They're on the screen there. I'll not read them out again, but those are the things we'd like you to keep in mind. And the whole purpose of the Seed Fund is to give all the projects a chance to take the next steps in their journey. So to continue building their prototype and hopefully to get it to the point where it can publicly launch and get out there and start benefiting people and communities in Northern Ireland. And there is a £67,000 pot of money, and of that we've got 5 grants of £12,000 to give out and 2 grants of £3,500. So following the videos, we'll go through the voting rules a little bit more, and we're going to have a little test question for you to check our voting procedure is working. But just before the videos go on, I'd just like to remind you that you'll have a chance to ask questions to the project. So after the second set of videos and after our test question, we're going to get a representative of each of the projects up here on stage. So if you could post any questions that you have into the Q&A on Zoom, not into the chat, please, but you'll see there's a Q&A button. And really importantly, if you could put the name of the organization that your question is directed at in your text so we know. And we'll not be able to possibly answer all the questions, but we'll pick out a few and we'll make sure that every project gets a chance to speak a little more. Without further ado then, we're going to show the 2-minute Me app video that had a glitch from earlier, and then we'll go straight into the second set of 7 videos.
Are you a community group struggling to engage digitally with older people? Have you dropped off a tablet for only this to happen?
Hi John, did you get a chance to use the tablet I dropped off for you?
Tablet? For goodness sake, how are you supposed to swallow that?
Do you know how to log on to the Wi-Fi?
The Wi-Fi? Sure, the Wi-Fi doesn't know how to use it either.
So would you like to join your club online through Zoom?
Zumba? I don't do that dancing there.
Okay, so the Zoom link will be in your mailbox.
The mailbox? Andrea, postman hasn't been yet.
Introducing My Easy app. A unique remote access embedded app, co-designed by MeApp and our service users and developed by DamGeo Limited. Team members can access an older person's tablet with their permission and help navigate or sign them into their online community groups. A unique feature of custom overlays will help with navigation and understanding the lingo used. My Easy app will be personalised and relatable for each service user. Don't be worried about making a mistake, as with the My Easy app interactive guides, service users can practice using apps before trying the real thing. Developments hopefully coming soon include a messaging support system with a one-click button for those who are unable to type, as well as a potential event management calendar so service users can easily navigate the links for Zoom or Skype calls. My Easy app, digitally connecting older people to online community groups and maybe even a bit of Zumba.
Aurora Counselling and Kippy CIC.
Having come through stage 1, we now recognise the vast potential of this area to embed learning and knowledge outlined within the library section. By providing opportunity for the caregiver and child to sit side by side and engage in interactive, child-friendly, therapeutic stories. We help the caregiver apply the core principles and knowledge outlined within the library section directly to their child. We also help the child develop emotional literacy and self-awareness. These moments also create opportunity for increased communication and foster connection and understanding for the benefit of both. Specifically, we want to create a branded family of feelings, highlighting that all feelings have a role and there are no bad feelings. It is how we express our feelings that is important. Thus, we will take the child on the metaphorical Kids Express journey, so they will have an opportunity to explore each feeling in greater detail. We want to personalise this experience by allowing them to choose and create their own avatar to represent themselves and their caregivers. On the journey, they will explore each feeling, learning about why they might experience it, how it might feel in their bodies, how it might affect how they think, how it might affect how they behave. They will also collect along the journey icons representing different coping strategies. They can then choose to put these in their suitcase on the train to help them. Together with their caregiver, they will formulate a map, in effect a safety plan, helping them navigate difficult situations. Perhaps they feel lost, like they're going in the wrong direction, or they're about to have a bout of road rage. This safety plan will help them manage in a safer, more positive way. Thank you.
Bernardo's An Invisible Building.
Fixit does so much more than just help report a housing issue. It enables parents to report things for themselves. It develops independence. It promotes self-advocacy. In short, it deepens a family's sense of resettlement. And the additionality that the seed fund would offer would be an absolute game changer. Why? Well, we would be able to purchase pro versions of existing digital tools, streamline the Fixit reporting process, allowing for much more traffic going back and forth, meaning as new families arrive into our service, they too can benefit from the Fixit tool.
I think it's really important to remember that this project is still a prototype. We've added several features to the roadmap that we'd love to implement, and with your help and the seed fund money, we can take this project and scale it to the next level.
But the benefits don't just stop there. We're not content for it just being Bernardo's families that benefit from Fixit. We want to give it away. We want to share it far and wide across the UK and Ireland with other organisations that are also involved in the resettlement of refugee and asylum seeking families. There are other vulnerable groups that potentially could benefit too. Those that are living in assisted living facilities, young people with special educational needs that are living independently, they too might struggle with word-heavy reporting mechanisms. The seed fund money would allow us to expand Fixit to allow its use across the UK and Ireland in a range of different organisations and for different people to benefit. If we are granted this seed funding, we will ensure that the seeds already developed in the Fixit prototype will grow, and the innovative digital solution will be shared far and wide. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this pitch. I hope I've done it justice as my voice echoes around an empty room, and I hope I've secured your vote. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this pitch, and I hope we've secured your vote.
NI, Chest, Heart and Stroke, and Johan Gans.
As we have heard from Sinead, our communications platform Zulip is helping to increase users' digital skills and capacity to engage in their own health transformation, as well as increase the knowledge of others. Uptake and usage has been well ahead of expectations in this trial, which is why we are eager to use it across the services at Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke so we can support more clients. Significant investment has already been made into our digital strategy, including training staff to use services like our website, online care services, learner management system for training clients outside of the organisation, as well as a social media strategy and digital health checks. We are committed as a charity to fulfilling the needs of our clients in the future. Therefore, any investment and time we put into digital platform at present will continue into the future. There will be a requirement to train and build confidence of users and staff to keep using Zulip. We intend to bring in the expertise of a consultant to guide us through this process, evaluating the platform and its usage throughout the process. Let's hear from Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke staff to see how they want to use Zulip. This is Catherine Merlin, the Director of Care Services.
I'd like our care team to be trained in using Zulip so that they can better support our clients to achieve the best health outcomes in the most effective way.
This is Amy Coey, Health Promotion Officer.
I want to feel more confident using Zulip to support my clients in the community.
As you can see, the seed fund will enable us to develop the Zulip platform further for use within community and care services for chest, heart and stroke. We will also evaluate the programme by using the advice of a consultant and hopefully develop the prototype of the chatbot in the future. As you can see, Chest, Heart and Stroke are committed to a sustainable digital strategy for the future.
Linking Generations and MediaDeck.
Hi, I'm Sarah from Linking Generations. Although COVID has stolen our spark, Generations Connected is much more than a response to a pandemic. This seed funding will enable us to scale and expand our services to keep the spark of intergenerational connection alive. We'll build on the prototype we've developed with MediaDeck to add additional features to make it even more engaging. Having been approached by other age sector organisations, we know that there is a demand for this new software. But as a small, dedicated staff team, it will become a core part of our work and the services we can provide, hoping to engage over 120 people in the first rollout. We have a network membership of over 600 organisations who are interested in intergenerational activities, including schools, care homes and age settings. We plan to hold further user testing and focus groups to work out what additional functionality would be of most benefit to them. It is essential that any additional features are user-led and driven by their requirements. To be inclusive and meet the needs of our users, at a minimum we want to make our Generations Connected software accessible, adding speech-to-text functionality to support those with visual impairments. Other areas where the software could be enhanced would be the ability to include inbuilt photographs and videos and screen sharing. We believe in the power of intergenerational relationships. They are vital in rebuilding the communities that have been fractured. And our response to COVID has highlighted that we are best placed to provide activities, inspiration and ideas to connect generations. Our new digital platform will enable us to increase our resources and expertise. It's a perfect tool for partnership working, linking in and connecting other organisations who offer different but complementary things. However, we need your help to do this.
Look, Alice and I keep Generations Connected.
Mid and East Antrim Age Well Partnership and Damgeo.
Introducing the My Easy app team. First up, our VCSC representative Andrea from MeApp. Many of the 120 community groups MeApp support have moved to online services due to COVID-19, which has highlighted a digital divide for older people due to lack of access to devices, digital literacy, Wi-Fi and no in-home support. The CFNI Techies in Residence project has given MeApp the opportunity to address these barriers and create a remote access app that will help digitally connect older people back to their community groups. Next we have our techies, Damien and Colleen from Damgeo Limited.
Even though Damgeo have been a Techies in Residence regular for the past 3 years, the MeApp project bounced out at us.
Firstly, because most of us have faced this issue, particularly over the past year and a bit, when we could not find a solution to support our elderly relatives using technology from a distance.
Secondly, it's a cracking idea and has such scope for supporting vulnerable people into accessing and being part of supportive online spaces.
With the designs now embedded in a native app, we need to link up the technical services that will enable the seamless transition to remote support and the content management system to activate the messaging, calendar and media content features.
Securing the seed funding is vital to develop the app and test with our service users who have been impacted by COVID-19 and further evaluate the need for app developments. Community groups are beginning to reopen, but their online services are still necessary for older people who may never return to in-person groups. MeApp will be able to sustain My Easy app by leasing it out by our Impact Age Well social enterprise and other groups across NI. Please vote for My Easy app. and help our most vulnerable older people become more digitally included. And last but not least, a special thank you to our mentor Claire from Innovate NI.
St Colum's Park House and Access Heritage.
We are at St Colum's Park House and we are pitching for the further development of our virtual seasonal tour. The seed fund will enable us to further develop the prototype and scale it into collaborative partnerships to use the tool in more rural landscapes as well as within the wider park environment here in St Colum's Park. We want to put citizens at the forefront of how we are understanding relationship to shared spaces. We plan to layer stories, memories and place names onto a digital platform that can be used widely to help shift engagement with common spaces. We want to explore how connection to the land can shape our language and how a deeper understanding of language can shape our connection with the land. We are curious about how knowing the layers of stories, memories and experiences can enrich our own experience of that place. We care deeply for the natural world and wonder could an increased connection to the land translate into greater care for the earth more generally. Further developing this digital tool will make it available to the widest possible audience. Sustainability will be achieved through the investment of citizens in generating the content, leaving the legacy and acting as a digital archive. This tool will be animated across our programmes and we have support for management that this technology will be maintained. We have already secured funding, which has started embedding the digital tool into our work. Investing in this digital tool will enable lots of communities and groups to write the script and shape narratives for these precious and much loved spaces. We need your support to develop this, so please vote for us. And here are some of our community extending their call for your support. Vote St Colum's Park House.
Young Enterprise NI and Zoo Creative.
In Young Enterprise, our mission is to prepare young people for the future workforce through the development of enterprise skills and digital technology.
Virtual reality, augmented reality and virtual learning environments enrich education, allowing students to explore the world around them and helping them to develop their problem-solving skills in a fun way.
We want to reach a greater number and range of young people with this project through the Seed Fund.
At the moment, we have created a single virtual reality environment.
We want to create more of these based on the one that we have now, along with different scenarios for each, so that the VR experience can be incorporated in different ways into the range of programs that we currently deliver.
In this way, it can eventually be used with a large percentage of the 90,000 young people that we currently reach. It will also be a key part of the blended approach to learning that we are moving towards.
To do this, we're going to also invest in Google Cardboard headsets, allowing the young people to access the VR environment. These will be given to them to keep, encouraging them to explore VR for themselves.
And of course, when the VR experience for the young people are ready to go, we will need to communicate their effectiveness with teachers, youth leaders and young people. This will involve creating video, marketing and promotional content to get our message across.
The Young Enterprise motto is learning by doing, and this fits right in with that. A range of fun, practical, interactive experiences that can be further adapted and developed as technology and curriculums change. One that can be used with all age groups and all abilities.
We believe that adding quality of life to our prototype gives us the opportunity to develop a learning experience that will engage and excite young people for many years to come.
We want the young people to think like the A-Team, and in completion of their challenge, to be able to say, I love it when a plan comes together.
Well, that was absolutely fantastic. I'm sure you'll agree that the groups have pulled all the stops out, and I think all the videos played correctly as well, so even more of a bonus. We said to the groups that we'd be happy enough with a recorded Zoom call, and as you can see, they've all gone way over, above and beyond. So what we're going to do now, keep the questions coming in. I see there's a couple there. We'd like a few more, so do post questions into the Q&A on the Zoom call. As I say, make sure you mention the name of the group that you want the question directed to. So while that's all happening, we're going to have a little test run of our voting procedure just to check that it's working okay. So just by way of reminder, when we do come to the vote, these will be the rules on the slide there. So every individual audience member will have 5 votes each, and you have to use all 5 of those votes. But you can only use 1 vote per project. So in other words, you're picking 5 projects from a list of 7. And we know how many people are on the Zoom call. It's about 120. And we know how many votes need to be cast. So if necessary, and the tally doesn't work, we will have to rerun the vote. So do please make sure you use all 5 of your votes. So with that in mind, we're going to do a little test run. So the tool that we're using for the voting is Mentimeter, which some of you might be familiar with. So all you need is you can use the computer that you're joining this call from, or tablet, or whatever device you're on, and just open a new tab. Similarly, you could use your smartphone if that's easier for you. So you just need to open a web browser and go to the website there mentioned on the screen, www.menti.com, M-E-N-T-I. And then when you get there, it will ask you to put in a code. So the code is also on the screen there, but I'll read it out. So again, go to menti.com and use the code 93234205. So the code, just one more time, is 93234205. I feel like I'm doing a radio phone in. Hopefully everybody has managed to get to menti.com. So I think now we'll move to our little test question. It's a very fundamental question that we're going to ask you, a very serious, deep, and meaningful question. Prepare yourselves. Which biscuits are your favorites? So this is the question you've all been waiting for. So we've given you a generous list of 10 there to choose from. So we want you, as in the real vote, I see some people going already, make sure you choose 5 on the list, okay? Don't just choose 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, because later on in the real vote, that'll create issues. So choose 5 from your list, and you can see there in dynamic fashion. You can see in the bottom right how many people have voted. So we've got 47 voters, 53, and we can see who's in the lead. Jaffa Cakes in the lead. Controversial, because are they even a biscuit? You know, that's the question we all need to ask. Second, but probably that would be what I would pick, to be honest. Custard Cream's doing well there as well. Jammy Dodgers. And then a bit of a tie between a few there. So we've got 88 voters. Let's see if we can get a few more. I just want to make sure that everybody's able to vote okay. Equally, if we get 400 voters, then we'll know there's a problem. So yeah, it looks like Jaffa Cakes are going to maintain their lead. So get the newspapers ready. And Custard Cream still holding on to their second position. Shortbread has come through in 3rd place there. We're at 100 voters. I'll just give it another 30 seconds or so to see if we can get a few other voters in the mix. 103. Ooh, there's Custard Creams are mounting a late challenge. Looks like, are we done? 106 voters, 107. I think that's about us. 108. Be good to know how many are voting, because then I'll use that in the next vote as well. 110, 111. Oh, the voters are still going up. 112. Okay, 113. I think I'm going to call it for Jaffa Cakes at this point, with Custard Creams in 2nd and Shortbread coming in 3rd. Okay, so that's the test question. So hopefully you've been thinking of questions to ask to our panelists in the meantime. So I'd like now we've got a representative from each of the projects, and we're going to invite them up to the virtual stage. So if we could have our 7 project representatives on the screen. Hi, Barbara. If you could all switch your cameras and mics on, that would be great. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Grania. Hi, Francesca. Hi, Sarah. And hi, Andrea. I think we're getting Andrea's video. Do you want to just all say a quick hello so we know your mics are working?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Excellent. Great to see you guys. And listen, well done on the videos. They were absolutely amazing. And sorry to Andrea about that glitch, but hopefully that's sorted now. There's an opportunity now for people to ask you questions. So I do have a couple of questions in the Q&A already. Let's see if any more have come in. Yeah, I've got a couple more in the meantime as well. So first question, Jeff, is for you. Got a question about your Fix-It project. So the question is, what about other families and use within housing providers for refugees or others? And how is the language barrier overcome in the tool? Are there users' languages used in it?
Okay, well, in terms of housing providers, we're using Home Care. They're one of the biggest letting agencies across Northern Ireland currently to pilot this, and so far it's worked out very well. The intention is to share it with other housing providers as well, and that's why we also had the housing executive representative on the panel that we're putting together as part of the development. So yeah, there'll be other housing providers can access it if we get the seed funding. And we develop it into something that's workable. As well as that, the other question there about who else can use it.
Yeah, who else can use it, and the language barriers as well.
Yeah, well, we're trying from the start really to make this as accessible as possible for as many people. And so, although we're trying to get over a language barrier, we didn't want there to be a couple of languages in there excluding other people. So we've tried as best we can to make the app, to make Fix-It language neutral. So once you go in to report an issue, it's very visual. So you if you imagine a house, you pick the picture of the room in the house where the issue is. Say it's your kitchen. So you pick your kitchen, and then say you're having an issue with the oven. You select the picture of the oven, and then it breaks down into the hob, the grill, the oven itself, the fan, and you click on that, and then you can also upload a photograph. So there's very minimal writing involved. And I suppose we did that on purpose to make it as accessible to as many people, regardless of their second language, but particularly families that have arrived into the UK and Ireland that really struggle with developing English in those early years.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot, Jeff. So next question here is for Aurora. So Francesca, for you, quite simply, what's your long-term vision for the product, for the Kids Express?
So I suppose initially we really had only thought about supporting parents who had made contact to our organisation for their child and were likely to wait some time on the waiting list. But through this experience, we've come to realise that we actually can take it further than that. We also deliver a schools-based counselling service to 15 schools across the city. And quite often a problem we encounter is the lack of contact we have with parents of children who are engaged in the therapy service. And we think this could be a tool that could be implemented in the therapeutic practice to better improve that relationship with the parents, because we know from experience the better a rapport we have with the parent and the more we can build their confidence, the more energized they become to implement strategies at home, and the better placed they're in to reflect on what's working and what's not working for the benefit of the child. And I think we've all become used to digital programs such as Mathletics and accelerated reading and how useful they can be in terms of supporting home learning. And I think this tool has the potential to support the extension of pastoral care into the home to help improve emotional well-being and mental well-being at home for the child.
Great, thanks a lot, Francesca. And as a parent, it definitely resonates. We could do with all the support we can get. So next question here is for Mayap. So Andrea, for you, how did you involve service users in the development of your app?
Yeah, so for Mayap, older people are at the centre of all our services. So back whenever COVID-19 started, we did our reset and restart Zoom sessions with all the community groups, and they were the main people who said to us, when we're trying to reach out to our older people, we can't get them. They have a device and they don't know how to use it, or they have no idea how to get a device. So when we applied for techies, we included service users from the very beginning by simply just posting out
our first designs to certain older people we knew who were interested in getting online and getting their feedback over the phone. And then because of the COVID-19 restrictions there from the start of the year, we weren't able to do that in-person testing. So a lot of the things in the video were from family feedback of trying to work with grannies and older uncles and aunties of not understanding how to use the Wi-Fi. There were real life feedback. And we now intend to go out and continue to use our service users from our Impact Agewell project and get them to continue to give us the feedback. Can we strip away things? Can we add things? So that'll be our long-term goal.
Great, thanks, Andrea. And that whole user-centered design thing is a really fundamental part of Techies, and I know all the projects have been doing their best to involve service users and will continue to do so. Next question here I have is for linking generations. So Sarah, if you want to pick up on this one. So what's the difference between your platform and other existing platforms like Zoom or Teams, etc.?
Thank you, good question. And it's something that we've actually thought about a lot because there isn't any point in replicating what already exists. Firstly, ours is ultimately ours. It's under our control, and we have a bespoke content management system so we can add information to it. So we have ultimate control over it and where it goes and what we do with it. Secondly, we don't require people to have a login or to sign up to an account. And that's kind of crucial with the work that we do because the people we work with, the service users, children and young people and older adults might not have the digital skills to be able to set up an account, and that can be a major barrier. But the biggest difference is we can add in activities and that we want to use in a session. So we're able to replicate what we would do in a face-to-face session online. And we have our own content management system that we can add those into. So if it's a reminiscence session or if it's fruit skewers, we can build a bespoke activity that can be accessed by everybody online digitally. So that's the major difference, is the inbuilt activities.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sarah. So there are other questions on there, but I want to make sure every group gets a chance to talk. So I'm going to pitch a couple of my own sort of general questions at some of those who haven't had a chance to speak yet. So who will I come to? Barbara. Well, we'll go with you. So I suppose generally, where do you hope to be by the time your seed fund award is finished? So say you got a seed fund award and you were able to do that work. Where do you hope to be at the end of it?
Well, hopefully we hope to be back in schools for face-to-face delivery, definitely, to be able to test what we have already created. But more importantly, we want to develop what we've created a lot further. Obviously through user testing, we want to be able to reach out to more young people and for them to be able to see that obviously using something fun like VR can really enable them to develop their skills a lot further. So we want to kind of reach out. Our aim would be to reach out after the seed fund, if we get it, if we're successful, to reach out to at least 500 to 1,000 young people through our digital masterclass, and really just to bring that fun and interactive activity into that classroom, into the hall that we're going into, and obviously to create more environments for them. And we want to be able to really expand what we already have, to start to include it in our other employability programs that we have, that we're not just focusing on the one program, but we're able to bring it into other programs with different age groups as well.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Barbara. Grania, I might pick on you next, if that's all right. What opportunities do you think there are for collaboration with other voluntary community organisations around the work that you're doing, and could they benefit from your product or platform?
Yes, well, already we've started working with Garda People's Forest, and in this, the further development of our prototype, we want to expand the technology into Garda People's Forest as well as more into St. Collins Park. So that's going to be a really good example of collecting new data. And I suppose what's really interesting about the next stage of our project is we want to generate the content from citizens. So it will be user-led content development in both spaces, an urban space in Derry and a more rural space of Garva. So I think that'll be a really good next stage for us, and then see where I can go from there with other natural assets and heritage sites.
Great, thanks a lot, Grania. And Jenny, I think I'm right in saying that you're the only one we haven't picked on yet. So I guess that question around service users, however you define that, how would you hope to involve them going forward in the next stage of your project if you got a seed fund grant?
Yes, well, we've already involved them initially before we applied during the Techies and Residents application. We surveyed our potential users and how they use digital. We hope to continue this as part of the seed fund. If we're successful, we would hope to employ somebody on a consultancy basis to help us really evaluate the program properly, and that will undoubtedly involve service users through surveys or possible focus groups in the future. We also collaborate with our service users on the platform itself, so they have the opportunity to share information themselves and collaborate with each other, which is really what we really value in terms of that sort of health empowerment for them as individuals. So they will be able to put up their own information as they find it, and that's when we know it will really have been a success.
Great, thanks a lot, Jenny. I've got a great question here, probably quite a technical one. It's the GDPR question that you're all fearing. So somebody's posted in the chat, and I thought maybe that might be useful to get you all to just say something very brief about it. So GDPR, for those who don't know, is all about data protection, and obviously, you're working with service users who may be vulnerable, whether they're vulnerable adults or younger people. So it is an important question that data protection and safeguarding is considered throughout all the projects. So if we could just give a brief answer from everybody to that, how have you considered those issues? Let's see, we'll start with Sarah, who's at the bottom of my screen, if that's okay.
No problem. Well, I suppose in terms of our prototype and its usage would be in established settings. So there already would be safeguards in place following child protection and vulnerable adults procedures. And in real life, we would always have those kind of checks and balances in place that nobody will be left alone, nobody will be accessing it by themselves. From a GDPR data protection point of view, we don't ask for any email addresses. All anybody needs to log in is a name to identify them. They don't have to use their own name, but obviously in terms of building a relationship, that would be useful. Before ever encountering any kind of work with LGNI, we do preparation sessions with everybody we work with, explaining to them not to share personal or sensitive information, not to provide photographs or videos, just to keep everybody protected. But GDPR specifically in terms of data, the sessions aren't recorded, so that we don't need to worry about it being shared. Once they're over, they're over.
Great. Okay, thanks, Sarah. Francesca, do you want to go next on that? Just a few brief words about kind of that whole safeguarding and data protection theme. Oh, sorry, Francesca, you're on mute.
Within the app, we're not actually holding any data, and they won't be actually putting on any data. The only thing they will actually put on is an email contact, and any email that would come through to us, that would be followed up with face-to-face. So that all comes under our normal confidentiality policy then in terms of note-taking and the sharing of information. That all comes under the general organisation policy. And the schools, if it did move beyond that, again, it's a mix of our policies and the schools policies regarding the storage and sharing of information.
Okay, great, Francesca. So it's not a huge concern there because you're not collecting a huge amount of data about people who are using the app. Andrea, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm busy answering some of them questions on the thing there. For GDPR wise, we have embedded on the app a full section for all the users. So they'll understand throughout what the remote access is, that it'll only be the organisation or the community group that will be working with them that will have access to their team viewer code. We'll hope to, going forward, then be sending out physical copies as well as the soft copies on the app. It's definitely one of those things, GDPR, that you don't want to mess around with, so we have to make it very clear, and having it on the app and having a copy posted out to the older people for that remote access is very important.
Great, thanks, Andrea. Grania?
Yeah, I suppose we see the tool as being a digital archive of stories, but we won't be linking those stories back to actual individuals. The purpose of hosting the stories would be more to enrich that experience of the different spaces and places that we would be using the digital tool for. So just like Francesca, we wouldn't have any name people on the actual technology.
Okay, thanks, Grania. A bit like Francesca there. Jeff?
Yeah, so the whole GDPR concerns was something that we were considering as a key part of our particular project. It took about 3 weeks for both Bernardo's and the letting agency who are piloting the project Home Care to make sure that all the checks and balances were done. Our families won't be sharing any information to their landlord that the landlord doesn't already have. They know where they live, they know their name, and the Fixit tool doesn't store any information. It just sends it in the same way that you would send an email. However, we know that, but the users don't. And one of the things that we would want our seed funding money to go towards would be to put into multiple languages some GDPR information into the app. The minute those that have piloted it have had a conversation with myself or a key worker and have explained it through an interpreter. But if we were to sort of get the seed fund money and develop this further, then that would be a key consideration, but not just for us to be satisfied, but for users to be satisfied with the GDPR rules around the use of Fixit.
Great, thanks a lot, Jeff. Jenny, do you want to go in next?
Again, thank you, Paul. Like the others, you know, we are collecting a login. Well, Zulip, the platform that we're using, are actually collecting the login, and they have a robust GDPR policy themselves. So we're placing, you know, that data with them, and under theirs, that information isn't to be shared. As far as the users are concerned, they can reach out to each other through a private message, but they can't actually see any other details about each other, so they've no other way of contacting out with the platform itself. From Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke's point of view, we have our own policy, so any data collected in that would be processed only within the same way, and that's something that as a charity we're very proud of, and all our users are assured by that whenever they work with us.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Jenny. And last but not least, Barbara.
Yeah, so thankfully GDPR is not a big issue for us because, again, like the rest, we're not really collecting individual data from the students. Obviously, they'll be doing it as part of a program that we'll be delivering within the schools. And we also have a really good relationship with our schools that are affiliated with us. So obviously we work across the whole of Northern Ireland, you know, with approximately 90,000 young people in a year. So we've really good connections with the schools, and we already have obviously policies and standard agreement in place with those schools when we're going into it. So hopefully it shouldn't be a big issue for us.
Great, thanks a lot, Barbara. So I know that can seem a bit of a dry issue, data protection, safeguarding. I'm sure some people in the call going, Paul, why did you ask that one? But you know, it is really important given that you're all working with vulnerable people. So I thought it was important to ask everybody. So we've got a few minutes left, and just kind of, there are other questions in the Q&A there, and I think that you guys have the ability to respond directly to those if you go into the Q&A because you are panelists. But if I could ask one general question to everybody and just go quickly round, I suppose I'd be just keen to know how your organisation has benefited from Techies in Residence. What's it been like for you? What have you gotten out of it as an organisation? So maybe we could just say a few quick words again on that, and then we'll bring the question and answer to a close. So let's see. Jeff, do you maybe want to go first this time? Yeah, sure. Well, I suppose the key thing that I think we've got out of this as an organisation is that we've been able to discuss a common problem that our families have been facing since they arrived in, but from different perspectives. So we got Home Care, the letting agency, involved, and they were talking to us, you know, about this issue from their side of things. We got the housing executive involved, and we've got families involved. So everybody who's involved in you know, this particular issue of difficulties around reporting a problem, you know, a broken oven or the heating going down or whatever, we got to sort of collaborate and understand each other a bit better as well. So I think that was one of the key things for us. Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Jeff. I'll just go across the top of my screen. Jenny, do you want to go next?
Sure. Yes, I think from the point of view of getting involved with Techies in Residence, it's really shown, well, first of all, it's helped the Work Well, Live Well team to expand a lot of the information that we would normally be sharing in sort of small scale individualistic points of view to individuals to a much broader group, therefore really broadening the ability of us to be able, or the capacity of us, sorry, to be able to deliver that to wider groups of people, and working with health champions who are employees of businesses across Northern Ireland. Really that shows then that we are able to empower and upskill them to help themselves as well as help other people in their own transformation, health transformations. As from Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke's point of view, I think it's really shown
it's built confidence, I think, within the staff, particularly within our team, that tells us we can do this, and we can really broaden our skills, and as well broaden the skills across the organization by helping others within the organization. I think the skills were already there, but being involved in the project has really shown us as an organization that we have much more to do. We are already doing a lot, but really made us look further afield and how can we really harness digital further. And we know now, as with many of the other projects, that we can do it. We've had to do it. This was mentioned earlier by the expert panelists to say that we're now in this digital transformation. So from Test Heart and Stroke point of view, we're on this road and we're not going back.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Jenny. Barbara?
I think really in the time that we're living in, with COVID and with the pandemic, this has given us a real opportunity to really look at how we can deliver our programs more with a digital solution. We haven't really had that opportunity probably before to kind of look at it in a digital way, and Techies in Residence has really given us that opportunity, and it's given us time probably to work with a techie and to be able to develop our knowledge and skills and understanding of how we can make our programs more fun and interactive. Something that we've really been wanting to try and do for a number of years is to bring that digital technology into it in a fun way. So being able to use something as simple as VR goggles is giving our young people obviously that opportunity to be able to see the digital world more, and hopefully to be able to come into that real world experience through the programs that we will be delivering when we go back into schools for face-to-face delivery.
Great, thanks a lot, Barbara. Francesca, you're next.
I think this project really encouraged us to step out of the comfort zone, and at the start that was a little scary. But I think stepping outside the box was really good for us, because this is a problem that we face time and time again. I mean, we're constantly up against limited resources and increasing need. And the age-old way of dealing with that really hasn't been working, which is just to try to keep getting more money. So I think this experience is actually showing us how much experience and skills and knowledge we do have, and how we can perhaps use that in a different way to reach more people. And to use our resources in a better, more efficient way. So that's been really useful.
Brilliant, thanks, Francesca. Andrea, do you want to go next?
Yeah, the whole Techies in Residence experience, I feel, has given me a sense of hope, and a sense of hope for all the community groups in the Mid and East Antrim area, that we know that coming out of COVID, that we're going to be able to still support those older people who'll never return to those face-to-face groups, and supporting the community groups to know that they're not going to lose that connection with the people they used to support, and to have that now face-to-face support and online service. We're also going to be able to reach older people that even pre-COVID we were never able to access before because they were housebound. So having this remote access app, being able to deliver it off at their doorstep, and being able to have a face-to-face conversation, find out what they like and get them connected to the outside world. And we do hope to see that this app will be able to support all community groups within Northern Ireland, and that will be our sustainability of the app. And thanks to CFNI as well, that we had done the Community Innovators project before this. So the whole process during Techies in Residence, we used that design thinking, and that's why we had our service users helping design the app from the beginning.
Yeah, you guys are innovation junkies.
Oh yes, we love it.
Thanks,
no dream
Andrea.
too big.
Grania, over to you.
Yeah, like what Francesca said, the mentoring element of the programme really pushed us out of our comfort zone, and that enabled enormous growth, both in terms of our own skills within the organisation, as well as looking at that perspective. I suppose like the Techies programme allowed us to step outside of our work and look at our work from a different perspective, but also look at our work from an outsider's perspective. And I suppose that's changed our communications across the organisation of how it is we see ourselves and how it is we're presenting ourselves to others. So that's been really, really interesting. And I suppose like having the digital tool visually allowed us to step outside of that And then the other thing that really came up for us through the process was how is it that we generate content, and how can we do that in a collaborative way with people, with park users, with volunteers. And I suppose unforeseen things that came up for us. We've already started using the tool when we're doing our garden design with volunteers, especially whenever we've been in lockdowns, not able to meet kind of physically. We found it's been of enormous benefit just to have a visual look at the space, and got us started to notice in the seasons and different things like that, and how the space changes. So it's been quite transformative.
That's brilliant. Thanks a lot, Grania. And we'll leave the final word to Sarah.
I suppose Tech Using Residence has really helped us. We're a really small staff team. We have 5 part-time members of staff, and we don't often get the opportunity to focus solely on one thing. And with the expertise of our techie, and then the support that we've had from Claire from Innovative and it's been an opportunity to really think about what we want and what we need and what would benefit our service users and the older and younger people that we work with. And just the time to actually be able to use our creativity and passion and be able to share that with others. We adore what we do, and we do it for that very reason, that we get to work with the best people and support the organisations. We wouldn't be here without our network members. So being able to advocate on their behalf to get a digital solution that we really will help us to keep generations connected is perfect.
Great, thanks a lot, Sarah. And you mentioned Claire and Barney there, so just a quick acknowledgement there that Claire and Barney from Innovate and I have been fabulous mentors for all the projects, and like me, have been involved in this programme since the start. So thanks to Claire and Barney again for doing a brilliant job this year. And well done to all of you. You know, I know you're probably anxiously awaiting the outcome of this vote, but I think the reassuring thing is at least this year we know that nobody will completely lose out, and so we look forward to continuing to work with all of you in some shape or form. So thank you very much for joining us up on the stage and for taking those questions. So now we're moving on to the moment that you've all been waiting for. So we're going to do our vote in a moment. Just to remind you again that it's 5 votes each. You've got 5 votes each, and you must use all 5 votes. And so please do that properly, otherwise we'll make you do it again. So we're trusting you all to kind of use your 5 votes, and Gemma and I will be doing a little bit of a check in the background to make sure that the number of votes is what we're expecting. So you need to go back to menti.com. So you might still have that open on your browser, on your computer, or your smartphone, whichever you were using. So get ready to vote. The code, if you need it again, is still the same at the top of the screen, 93234205. So hopefully everybody has been able to find their way there. As I say, in a moment, I'll ask Gemma to open the vote, and as I say, make sure you pick 5 projects. Okay, so Gemma, can we move on to open the vote? Now, I should say as well, we are not going to display the vote tally here. The reason we're doing that is because the rank order of projects isn't important. They're all good projects. But for transparency, if any of the groups do want to know afterwards what the tally was, we're more than happy to share that. But we decided that it wouldn't be maybe a nice way for people to find out the decisions that the count would be on the screen in front of them. So we're going to leave that open for a few minutes. So I think you can see the number of voters already there down at the bottom is up to 80 already, so people are finding their way to this okay. So we're going to leave that open for 3 to 4 minutes. I think we're going to put a holding slide up now, but don't worry, the vote is still open in the background. And whenever enough people have voted and we've done a little check on that, you'll hear from Maeve, and Maeve is going to give us the results. So thank you from me, and we're looking forward to finding out the results in a moment or two.